Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you was, I believe, and I read that a good part of your heart was put into this, into the 9/11 project for your firm because of several people, two people that worked for you, one of whom I knew passed away,
Yeah.
and also a detective that you met.
Yeah.
And
So
would you mind just telling us a little bit about that?
again, just by dumb luck, one of my original clients was Detective Jimmy Zadroga. And Jimmy died at the age of 34 of pulmonary fibrosis. But a little background. When Congress first created the Victim Compensation Fund, they only created it for 2 years. It ended at the end of December 2023 because they really thought it's just for the people who died. So we have to give the widows and the families time to grieve, make a claim, understand what it means to waive your future legal rights. They'll get paid, and then that'll be the end of it. But nobody envisioned these guys would keep getting sick. So the first victim fund ended, but my clients kept getting sick. And now so many of them who were firefighters were losing their careers because, as I said, you and I could be lawyers with asthma, but you lose your career as a firefighter with
Sure,
asthma.
sure.
So these were significant claims, and these guys had no recourse. And the city was pushing back against firefighters and cops, saying, "Oh, come on, you've been fighting your whole career going into fires, or you're a smoker. That's not caused by the World Trade Center." Well, Jimmy Zadroga was 34 years old. He had pulmonary fibrosis. He was an NYP detective, and he died in 2006. They did an autopsy, and in his lung tissue, they found ground glass, asbestos, chromium, lead, benzene, all these known carcinogens. So using that medical evidence, and now we had all these guys with pulmonary illnesses. Well, we lobbied and we finally got Congress in 2010 to reopen the Victim Compensation Fund when they created the Zadroga Health and Compensation Act, which created the World Trade Center Health Program and reopened the Victim Compensation Fund for 5 years. But then people didn't stop getting didn't stop getting sick, and now we saw people were getting cancer. And we had enough evidence to have doctors at NIOSH link. And today, by the way, it's 69 cancers that have been linked to the World Trade Center toxins and all these respiratory illnesses. So I kind of became an unofficial lobbyist, although I call myself an advocate, not a lobbyist. And we got Congress to extend it again in 2016. There was some exciting moments when the new special master, Sheila Birnbaum, and then Rupa Bhattacharya, they said, we don't have enough money here with all these people getting sick, so we're now only going to pay people half of what other people got. Well, that created a huge outcry, how unfair this is, and that really helped us. And thank you, Jon Stewart and the unions and John Field and the Feel Good Foundation. We were marching on Washington. All the politicians loved it when firefighters would show up in their uniform and we'd take pictures with the politicians. And we finally got enough people in Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, to support the permanent extension of both programs in 2019.
So, I mean, you talk about Congress, and I know everybody knows about Jon Stewart, but you lobbied over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And you talked to so many politicians. I'm just curious, that was not something you were used to. That's not what you did as a personal injury lawyer. So here you were not only helping individual first responders recover compensation for what they were going through, but you were making actually a larger impact on the mass, on the greater good of humanity.
Well, I had a great cause, Neil. I mean, come on, who doesn't love firefighters? And I had this evil government. It was evil on 5 days after 9/11 when Christine Todd Whitman said, the air is safe to breathe. Let's reopen Wall Street. Come back to school. Come back to your job. Come back to your battery park, to your apartments. Well, you know what? It really was a great cause because I had our own government lying to us. But then Congress did the right thing, saying, okay, we're going to create this law and take care of you. And they did. But unfortunately, if you've seen what I've been doing lately, I'm back in Washington a lot because Mr. cut the health program 20%. Well, there was such a huge outcry, bipartisan, that the president overruled him. And remember, it was Trump who signed this permanent extension in 2019. So you got to know, if he understood what was going on with all these cuts, he wouldn't have let Musk do it. Or at least I hope he wouldn't have. But then what does Musk do? He does away with NIOSH and fires 16 of the doctors from the World Trade Center Health Program. Again, another bipartisan push back. We were down in Washington, and fortunately, they reversed those firings. We don't know for how long. So I'm going back to Washington next week to fight. We need more funding, and once and for all, enough funding for the health program. Fortunately, the Victim Compensation Fund has plenty of money because it gets its money from taxes on foreign corporations, but we don't have enough money for our health program. So we're going to fight for that. And why are we fighting? Because I take it personally. As you said earlier, Liana Rivera, who you knew, died of breast cancer. She was one of my secretaries. Dennis Cotter was one of my paralegals. He died of kidney cancer. I am a prostate cancer survivor. My secretary, Barbara, has lymphoma. My partner, Barry Salzman, has skin cancer. So if we have it in our office because we return to work, so does everybody else in Lower Manhattan, or they will get it. I mean, everybody feels like a ticking time bomb, Neil. So, but as sad as it is that so many people are getting sick and dying, I mean, I lose 2 clients a day to 9/11 illnesses. I mean, it's horrifying. Well, on the other hand, incredibly grateful to be able to tell someone who's got a diagnosis that's terminal, sir, I assure you, your wife and kids won't lose the house. Yeah. Your kids can go to college. So it's so interesting. We talk about our careers. I've had so many different careers. Look at you now, Neil. You're doing this podcast. It's new. It's different. It's exciting. For me, I was a personal injury. I was an ambulance chaser. Right. For the first 7 years of my career, doing taxi cases. Then, I did firefighter cases. Then 9/11 happened. I started representing those people. Then I became a lobbyist / advocate. Right. Then I became, trying to change the rules and get the new special masters to make rules that were fairer. Now I'm lobbying again. I just feel like I've always been doing different things, and that's why I still love what I do.
You talk about about government, but I read somewhere that only about 10% of Americans under 30 even know what the Zadroga Act is. Now, that's not apathy, it's design. What have you learned about the system's willingness or unwillingness to protect its heroes once the headlines fade?
Well, thank you for pointing that out. We know that in the World Trade, there are about 140,000 people in the World Trade Center Health Program. 85% of the cops and firefighters know about the program and have enrolled because their unions have done such a good job. But the lawyers don't have a union. The people at the stock exchange don't have a union. The former students and teachers, well, the teachers have a union, but the students don't. So these people have dispersed all over the country. This is no longer a New York issue. This is a national issue, which is why next week I'm going to Florida to speak to this group of presidents of different retiree clubs. Then I'm going to Raleigh, then Wilmington, then Myrtle Beach to speak at retiree clubs to let them know that we need them to call their mostly Republican senators and congressmen and let them know this is not just a New York issue. I'm a constituent here in South Carolina. I need you to support this health program. So that's the way I'm doing it. Because the government isn't doing outreach, private law firms like me and the unions, we're the only ones doing outreach now, and which is why I so appreciate you giving me a chance on your podcast to help spread the word to people that they may be eligible. Because while over 85% of the firefighters and cops have enrolled, less than 10% of civilians are enrolled. They either don't know that they're eligible, or they think, oh, wait a second, didn't that program end a long time ago? That cancers are still going on. They don't realize there's a presumption linking 69 cancers. So if they get cancer in 10 or 20 years from now, all they have to do is prove they were here. That's it.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing.